All right, let's talk about the English past tense. I know, it can feel like this big, tangled mess, right? But what if I told you we could make it super simple just by following one single story from start to finish? That's exactly what we're going to do. I mean, have you ever been there? Staring at a sentence, wondering, should it be I did or maybe I was doing? What about I had done? It's so easy to feel completely lost. But trust me, you're not alone in this, and we are going to clear it all up right now. Yep, we're going to untangle all of these different forms using just one simple story. Think of it this way. By the time we're done, you'll see that each tense isn't just some boring grammar rule. It's actually a tool for adding another layer of detail, a new piece of the puzzle. Okay, you ready? Let's dive in. Our story begins with the most basic, the most fundamental part of telling any story about the past. So here it is. It all starts with this one sentence. Nayan left the party in a hurry. Boom, that's it. It's a single, clear action. It happened, it's over, done. And what we're looking at here is the simple past tense. You know, the classic. The formula is super easy, just the subject and the past tense verb. And its whole job, its entire purpose, is to talk about something that's started and finished completely in the past. Clean and simple. But come on, stories are almost never just one single thing happening, right? That would be boring. Things get way more interesting when you start adding layers. So let's see what happens next as Nayan is heading home. So our story continues. He was driving home when he saw Priya outside a bookshop. Ooh, okay, see what's happening here? We've got two things going on. There's a longer background action, and then a shorter, more sudden action that happens right in the middle of it. This is where the story starts to feel a bit like a movie. You know, you can almost picture it. You have one action that's already in progress, it's setting the scene, and then bam, something else happens, interrupting the flow. That longer background action, well, that's what we call the past continuous tense. The form is just was or were plus a verb with ing. And we use it all the time for an action that was unfolding over a period of time, especially when, and this is the important part, it gets interrupted by something else. So let's break down how these two tenses work together. First, you've got the background action. He was driving home. That's our past continuous. Then you've got the short interrupting action. He saw Priya. That's our simple past. See how they fit together? They create a much more vivid picture of what was going on. But wait a second. That interruption, it kind of raises a new question, doesn't it? Like, what was she even doing there? We need more info. It's time to get the backstory. Exactly. Why was Priya outside a bookshop so late at night? To figure that out, we actually have to jump even further back in time, to a moment before Nayan even started driving home. And here it is. This is the missing piece of the puzzle. We know that Nayan saw Priya. That's a past event. But before that happened, something else had already occurred. Priya had lost her keys. This action happened in what you might call the deeper past. And to talk about that deeper past, we have a special tool, the past perfect tense. The form is simply had plus the past participle. And its whole reason for existing is to show that one action happened before another past action. It's basically a timeline organizer for your story. Let's put that into a simple chart. The job of the past perfect is to show the action that happened earlier in the past. So in our story, the sentence, Priya had lost her keys when Nayan saw her, uses this tense to perfectly organize the timeline for us. We know exactly which event came first. Okay, so we've put the events in the right order. But you know what? We can still add even more detail to make the story richer. Let's look just a little bit further back and get the absolute full picture. Because think about it, Priya wasn't just standing there for a split second. The situation was actually this. She had been looking for her keys for an hour when Nayan arrived. Now that changes things, doesn't it? This tells us not just what happened, but for how long it was going on before Nayan finally showed up. And that is the very specific job of our final tool, the past perfect continuous tense. The structure is had plus been plus a verb with ing. And you pull this one out when you really want to emphasize the duration, how long an action was continuing before another past event happened. So there you have it. We've built a complete, detailed story set entirely in the past. But you know, this often brings up a really common point of confusion for a lot of people. We've been talking about actions that are totally finished, but what about actions in the past that still have a connection to right now? Let's take a quick look at the simple past versus the present perfect. Okay, the key difference here really just boils down to one simple question. Is the time period finished? The simple past is for a finished time. If I say, I completed this book last week, well, last week is over and done with. But the present perfect is for an unfinished time. If someone says, the captain has been injured twice this year, that suggests this year is still going on. He could get injured again. So always ask yourself, is the time period over? All right, let's wrap this all up and bring it back to our story. Here is your complete past tense toolkit, all laid out and recapped through the story of Nayan and Priya. Just look at how each of these pieces built our narrative. We started with the simple past. Nayan left. That's our main event, the core of the story. Then the past continuous. He was driving. That sets the scene, gives us the background. The past perfect told us what happened before. Priya had lost her keys. That's the crucial backstory. And finally, the past perfect continuous added that important detail of duration. She had been looking for a while. See? Each one has a job. So, the big idea to take away from all this is that these tenses, they're not just a bunch of boring grammar rules you have to memorize. They are specific, powerful tools in your communication toolkit, and each one is designed to help you tell a clearer, richer, and way more detailed story about the past. It's a complete toolkit for being precise and clear. So now that you've got the tools and you know how to use them, the only question left is, what story are you going to tell about your past?